Hello, Fraggles, and welcome back. Here we are for our very first summer short mini video. Today, me and Adam are going to be catching up and talking some news and doing some fun stuff. But first, I've got a little song for you. I've been looking around for some more kind of summertime repertoire, and this is a lovely little song by Brahms called Feldeinsamkeit. Yeah, I'm singing in German. I never sing enough German here.
And that means forest solitude. So just sit back and imagine that you are lying on your back looking up at some fluffy little clouds.
Ich ruhe still im hohen grünen Gras und sende lange meinen Blick nach oben, nach oben. Von grünen rings umschwirrt und Unterlass von Himmelsbläue wundersam umwoben, von Himmelsbläue wundersam Die schönen weißen Wolken ziehen dahin durchs tiefe Blau. Wie schöne stille Träume, wie schöne stille Träume. Mir ist, als ob ich längst gestorben bin und ziehe selig mit durch ew'ge Räume und ziehe selig mit durch ew'ge And now welcome back, my co-host and friend, Adam Bailey.
Hello.
Hey, Adam, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. Having some summer fun?
Yeah, sure. Summer fun. That is what is. I got my second booster shot of the inoculation.
Yeah, me too.
And my husband has one too. We actually got to do the big event that they had at the Scotiabank Arena here in Toronto, where everyone got inoculated on the floor of the arena, which was a really big deal to all the sports fans who went there. But on average, everyone I know who went to this thing was not a sports fan. So like the being on the floor where the Raptors play and where like the Maple Leafs play was not
a big deal. No,
was not like every single person I know who got inoculated at the Scotiabank Arena on like the 26,000 inoculation day was not a sports fan.
But they're a fan of vaccines. I got vaccinated at the Stade Olympique, the Olympic Stadium here in Montreal, which I do not believe any professional sports teams play in. I don't know. The hockey team plays in another arena, but is a beautiful old brutalist building. So it's like being vaccinated in like a concrete bunker of some kind. So.
Hey, when it's time for your apocalyptic vaccination, have it in an apocalyptic building. Just like fit the location to the theme, and exactly. that's beautiful. Ours, they made it feel like you had that.
Did they play did they have the organist in?
They had they were playing as if it was a Raptors game while we were there. Jonathan got a towel like a little wrap, like a towel saying he got vaccinated. Like, I got a PDF document saying I had my second vaccine. He has a towel that he has to show at the border being like, I'm a Raptors fan and I'm double vaccinated. Only one of these statements is true. Like,
That is so
guess
funny.
which one?
I had laser eye surgery about 4 years ago. I don't know if you remember that, but we pay a lot of money to have laser eye surgery, right? And at the end of it, and also they give you Valium, which is great. If you can ever take Valium, take Valium. I've never had it any since then, but it was amazing. So they gave me the Valium before the surgery, which was really funny because I had to like call my bank and make that like so I could pay for it, right? Because I forgot to tell them I was going to be paying this huge sum of money and the card kept getting declined. So I had to call one completely high to tell them it's okay. But anyway, they also, I found this so incredibly amusing. After that, they're like, okay, now you get to your pick of Toronto sports team hats. So you can get a Raptors hat or a Blue Jays hat or whatever the soccer team is called hat.
The
which I
Rock?
still have. Yeah. It's my $5,000 hat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, like, I love that the sportsy assumption, like sportsy people just assume that everyone
Yeah,
loves
Love
sports.
sports, yeah.
Artsy people do not assume that everyone loves their art. Like we try and peer pressure people into loving the art things that we love. And it's, you know, before we started filming, I was like, you must watch Bo Burnham's Inside. Like, we definitely do that, but we don't walk around being like, you are already a Bo Burnham fan. Here is a hat. And that's what sports people do. It's a very funny, like, it's the Super Bowl. Everyone likes football. And you're like, do we? Oh, speaking of which, I learned something very fascinating on RuPaul's All Stars last night.
What's that?
It's about the Super Bowl, and it's about the first person to ever perform at a halftime show. Do you know who the first person to ever perform at a halftime show was?
No, but I think you're going to tell me.
I am certainly going to tell you because you're going to love it. It was Carol Channing.
What?
The OG halftime performer.
It was like, hello, Dolly.
Carol, yes, Carol Channing. And what I love about this is that a friend of the show, Daniel Krolik, always complains about the SNL. They always do a big musical number for the Super Bowl episode of SNL, and he's like, "This is just people who don't like musicals making fun of musicals by associating it with the Super Bowl." And I'm like, turns out.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually going to be seeing Daniel next week because he's coming to Montreal. I'm going to hang out with him in a safely outdoor environment. So I will tease him mercilessly about this.
About Carol Channing's association with the NFL.
That's awesome.
You know, the lisp is actually because of concussion. Because
of what? Sorry?
A concussion.
A concussion.
When she was like playing wide receiver. That's why they had to move her off of the field and like give her a solo. That's how the halftime show originated. You know, Carol Channing was playing for the Buffalo Bills.
Got hit on the head this one too many times, say Carol. Now you're a music theater superstar. I mean, there are cases of people like changing accents or, you know, forgetting languages or developing different skills after head injuries. So, you know, someone could develop an idiosyncratic performance style that strikes a chord with the masses of people and become a superstar after getting hit. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I should try it. Maybe that'll revitalize my career. Those times when that happens are extremely rare. I think there's a book called My Stroke of Genius or My Stroke of Luck where someone's like IQ went way up after a stroke or a head injury, and there's an entire book about that subject. The most common thing is just a personality change. Right, so you become an asshole.
Generally, people, because they've lost abilities, become grumpier, but every once in a while, someone who is already like just ripe becomes a very pleasant person, and you're like, wait, how did you?
That happen?
You're old now, and I want to continue disliking you. Stop being so pleasant and friendly. We were only sucking up to you for the inheritance at this point, and now you've become a very nice person. Well, I think we're doing some news together today.
Absolutely. Let me get this all queued up here. Oh, I got my window the wrong time up. Before we get started with the news, let's just remind our friends out there that they can support the show by buying us a coffee at ko-fi.com/thisisatalkshow. And hey, I'm at my real piano today, so I can do something for This Is a News segment. There we go. So I have some really awesome news stories for you. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. So let's start with the first one. News from space. We're going to start with this. Scientists discover thousands of solar systems where aliens could watch the Earth. So this is actually not as much of a story as it sounds. There's just a sort of a roundup of like, there's lots of, these are as many solar systems who could also see our star and possibly Earth. And therefore, I guess they could be spying on us, but insofar as we are spying on them when we don't actually know they're there or can't really see anything about us. What do you think? Do you think aliens are spying on us?
I love the phrasing of that headline, though, like all these solar systems from which aliens could watch the Earth, sort of like we're at the center of like an arena and they're all watching us like a live show. And what a show we put on. Like, we've got to be the most entertaining product out there. Like, I firmly believe that if aliens did discover humanity, we would be like, you know, Love Island or The Bachelor to them. They're just sitting there with their popcorn, just being like,
but you know, I mean, okay, so if reality shows employ a staff of what are called loggers, right, to watch all the raw footage and mark when something interesting happens, and usually you do this job, you do it overnight, where you go from like 12 to 8 a.m. and watch raw footage of complete idiots being dumb, right, and just in case something entertaining happens. Sounds like the worst job in the world. There's so much boring shit that happens on Earth, though, right? Do you think that they are also like curating the best moments? Like, you know, like there's just people like filling out paperwork and, you know, mowing lawns and working in fields and stuff like that. But every now and then, whenever something really great happens, do they just, yeah,
alien loggers certainly exist. If there's thousands of solar systems from which aliens can watch the Earth, then obviously there has to be some loggers too, to be like, this is what's interesting happening over here. This is what's interesting happening over there. They didn't really have to do much work over the past year. Like, I know there were days where I just didn't stop watching CNN. So I'm sure the aliens were just like, ooh, are they going to blow themselves up now?
What is that Trump one doing now? His Twitter feed is so entertaining.
The largest empire on the planet's about to have a civil war. Oh my. It's just,
I like our alien voices.
Yeah, my alien voice is basically the retail assistant on I Love Lucy. It's just a whoa. They're all him. That's just, you know.
Nice. All right, well, okay, aliens, if you're watching, we are available. We will, I don't know, we'll do some color commentary.
Click like and subscribe on YouTube, aliens. I will.
I don't know if they can donate, though. Like, I don't know what the exchange rate is like, but if you can, anything is appreciated. All right, next story.
Webinar these days.
World's largest ever 4-day week trial in Iceland is an overwhelming success. One of our news stories, which I like to call Science Proves Water is Wet. This is a follow-up on a story. Do you remember we covered that people over the age of 40 shouldn't work more than 3 days a week or something?
3 hours. I'm there. No, I need to work more than 3 hours a week. I actually have a built-in need to do things and get things done. And I like this story for showing that we should be kind of moving. I think like a couple years back, there was an article saying how serfs, like feudal serfs, had more time off than we do.
Yeah.
Like capitalism came from feudalism, came after feudalism. It was the big revolution. It's supposed to be better than feudalism. Right now, it is not meeting that bare bones goal. And I like this because it proves that we're more effective when we have rest and time off. I really appreciate that. And I think there needs to be stuff out there to debunk the narrative that people aren't going back to work because stimulus checks are like a hindrance. We were talking before the show, like about my stress about going back to work and like the jobs that I do have, the jobs that I don't. And like, I'm semi-employed during this whole thing. I've been doing lots of different works. I've been still working with 2 different theater companies. And I don't know how to balance finding a new part-time job with that stuff at this time. Also, I come into contact with people with disabilities quite frequently, and like having a front-facing job is terrifying when I'm responsible for other people's health. So I'm not back in the workforce full throttle because I'm lazy. I'm not back in the workforce full throttle because there was just a giant pandemic. And something like this that shows that we can be effective when we're working, more effective when we're working less, is like a beautiful chef's kiss that we need out in the zeitgeist.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's there's so much data on this. It's true, especially like about like length of time that you work. Like just like I'm not going to go into it too much, but people back at home, listeners, Fraggles, go and look it up. Like the maximum length of the workday, 8 hours is too long. You can't concentrate for 8 hours. Like productivity goes off a lot after something like, I think it was 4.5 hours or something like that. We should all be working way less because honestly, life is too short. However, I am on the job market, so please hire me and hire Adam. Give both of us a job. Hire us together.
I need something part-time in the mornings.
We will make your company video newsletter.
It's Bertrand Russell pointed out the 4-hour limit on work way back in the day, but he actually found, because most people aren't, he discovered that like if you shift jobs, like most people would actually be best if they were doing 2 separate types of jobs. So like he thought that professionals should also be like public school teachers. So like, you know, be a criminal lawyer in the morning, take care of 3-year-olds in the afternoon. Like that was kind of his ideal workday split. I don't know if that's a good one or not.
I don't know about that particular combination, and that to me seems like it would lead to some scheduling nightmares. But
on average, I think like an 8-hour workday, like the average office worker is actually only productive for like 3 hours. Like but it's not 3 hours all at one time. It depends. And having worked an admin job, there are moments where you're like waiting for work to come in. Like part of what you're getting paid for is to be at the desk. Like it's so that you are available in case someone needs to walk by and ask a question.
Exactly.
And you're like, I know the answer to that.
And that's why some people are shitting their pants because because so many people worked from home during the pandemic, and it was like, wait a second, I can get all of my work done and, you know, be completely productive in this much shorter time. Why do I have to go back to the office now and sit there for 8 hours and pretend to be working all of this time? Right?
I mean, I agree with that for some people, but for others, like there is how cities are designed. That's a freaking disaster waiting to happen, because independent art, all sorts of cultural things depend on a central commons. Like people coming into an area where that stuff can be accessible. You're very unlikely to do things that are more than a half an hour's like walk away from your work, or more than a half an hour's walk away from where you live. Or a 15-minute drive, or like whatever, like, but there's like a real thing there. And most of our cultural institutions are built around downtowns. And then on top of that, decentralized cities, like when you look at like growth in the US and like all the Jane Jacobs arguments, decentralized cities are their own kind of catastrophe waiting to happen, because people tend to, when cities decentralize, they're more able to live in economically isolated and ethnically isolated communities. So people only live with other rich people, or only other people of their own ethnicity. And so the empathy in a democracy that allows you to understand how this policy affects those people goes out the window, where cities allow for more blended neighborhoods.
I get what you're saying, Adam, but I have a great solution to this. What if people lived in those buildings downtown instead of having offices there?
Because most of them aren't designed for apartments.
Well, you could change them. Look, they didn't get there by magic, right? You could always just refit them or rebuild them, right? Like,
no, I've been listening to podcasts with architects and stuff on it. Most of those buildings are not, they can become more art centers or more this or more that, but one of the things they can't do is become more apartments because of how they are designed. They don't have the right water infrastructure. When I worked downtown in one of the big office towers, having enough water for people to drink was a real issue. We had to have Culligan tanks brought up.
Oh, is that why offices have water coolers? I didn't know that.
Yeah, because there's not enough, there's just enough water pressure stuff for the base amount of toilets for the people on those floors. Like it's not, they're not built for, and it's to retrofit them to be apartments would be an actual nightmare. You'd have to like bring the buildings down.
You know what? I just feel there's some happy medium between everybody goes and pretends to work all day and the central cities empty out. But anyway, speaking of downtown, I have a downtown Montreal story next.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So as you may have been following, the Montreal, the Habs, the Montreal Canadiens were in the Stanley Cup. They lost. They got killed. It's okay. But they did manage to win one game of the final.
Was Carol Channing there?
What's that?
Was Carol Channing there?
She's dead, Adam. She's
Oh.
been dead for quite a time. But perhaps she was there in spirit. I don't know. But after the game, which they actually won, Montreal Police defend tear gassing Habs fan without warning after game 4. So they did allow a limited number of spectators into the event, but also people gather outside because reasons, sports reasons. And apparently some of them wouldn't leave, and the Montreal Police just let loose with tear gas without even saying time to disperse. So we can talk about sports, we can talk about Montreal, we can talk about how much the Montreal Police suck, which is a lot, or any of the above.
My only problem with the police is the people who want to become police. Yeah. The us versus them of the police versus citizens is just increased over the past year. I know there's actually a case in the States now where in Arkansas, a white kid, I can't remember his name right now, got shot by a police officer because he was putting a canister behind his truck so his truck wouldn't roll backwards while it was stopped. Mm-hmm. Because that's the thing to shoot a teenager over. Very like, and the one of the big civil rights lawyers in the South has actually taken up the case and is using this as an example of like the increase of like it used to just be us minorities, because he's a black lawyer and he's like, but now look, now they're also shooting the white teenagers too. Like, please someone do something about the fucking cops. And hopefully, like, you should warn a crowd before you tear gas them. I think that's like,
yeah, at bare minimum, you know. And like, and I realized, you know, Canada, if you're not a Canadian watching this, like, Canada does have a tradition of hockey riots. Oddly enough, always after the team wins. It's never a riot out of anger. It's always a riot. Yeah, which is strange.
That's right.
And, you know, stuff gets set on fire, stuff breaks, everyone goes crazy, and then it's fine. So, you know, I understand there could be some threats to public order, whatever that means. But also, like, yeah, as you're saying, I think the average, the demographics of the Montreal Police and the average hockey fan out there outside the Bell Center causing trouble after the hockey game would be pretty much an overlap. They'd be pretty much the same sorts of people. And that there's that they're still willing to act violently towards what are very much their own people is worrying. Because the Montreal Police have a lot of history of beating up minorities, specifically Black men. And yeah, there's a whole bad history and practice that's continuing that sucks, but this is a new level of suck. So great.
The police, instead of sucking less, they decided to suck more. Yeah. Let's ACAB. Let's get off the coppers.
Absolutely. Well, here's a slightly more sympathetic protagonist for our next story. Snake slithers out of toilet, bites man on his genitals. I forget where this happened. This happened in Austria. The snake belonged to his neighbor and apparently got loose and then got into the plumbing and came out in this gentleman's toilet just as he was sitting down on it and bit him in the junk.
Was it a poisonous snake?
No, it was a python. So pythons can kill you by squeezing. It's not a venomous snake, but it could still hurt. And you can still, you know, like when a cat bites you, you can get an infection, right? There's
cat scratch fever.
Cat scratch fever, yeah. So there's snake bite fever. It's not great to be bitten by a snake, especially not in a sensitive area of the body.
No, it's not. My first concern was poison, and then after that, he's fine.
He's fine. Yeah. Well, he's got a story to tell for the rest of his life, right?
I mean, the PTSD from that, like, if he has, like, because that's a traumatic event, like, he's gonna have some issues going to the washroom for a while, God. Which is gonna be like, you know.
Oh, I don't know how you'd ever do it again. Yeah, I don't know how you'd ever sit down at a toilet again. It would be really rough. You'd have to get like some kind of weird, like, astronaut toilet or something.
But then, you know, snakes get on planes, snakes get into outer space, I've been watching too many Samuel L. Jackson movies. No,
what if there have been snakes in space? I missed out on that one.
That's a Rick and Morty episode, snakes in outer space. There's a little, somehow Morty gets bitten by a snake in a snake suit in outer space. It's just random snake biting.
So
but I do feel bad.
It would just be a tube, right? With the little helmet.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, that'd be really cute.
Yeah, little snake space explorers floating through
Yeah.
outer space and then biting people, because that's what snakes do, is they bite
How would it
people.
bite through the helmet?
I don't know how to
relate. Okay.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that episode to see, like, does he open the helmet before he takes a bite? I don't know. Space is a weird place.
Is how he bites through the helmet. Well, I did once go into my bathroom and see a rat in it in the middle of the night, and it did make me not want to go into the bathroom in the middle of the night. I felt very tense. We covered up the hole, we put out poison, it was fine, no more rats. But it was terrifying, and every time I went to the bathroom in the night for a while after that, I was like, I can't imagine if it had bitten me or come out of my toilet. So
if I saw a rat in a bathroom at night, everyone in the house would be awoken. Like, there's not one chance in the world that not everyone in the house, like, I live in an apartment building, everyone in the building would know. Like, I would not, I would not do well.
No.
There was a mouse that tried to get through our wall once, and just trying to get through the wall, I freaked out and, like, ran into the hall and had a conniption. And I have a small phobia of rats and mice. They do not. Hamsters, gerbils, bunnies, guinea pigs, they're all fine. Squirrels, cute as a button. Rat or a mouse, it's just.
Yeah, mice are cute. A mouse can be cute. You don't want them in your house, but they're like, it's fine. I don't have an antipathy. It's like bees and wasps, right? Both of them will sting you, but bees are cool. Bees are fine. Wasps are assholes, right? It's like that with rats and mice. Mice, yeah, they'll get into your food, they'll chew stuff up, but you put out some traps, you cover up the holes, it's fine. You have a cat, it's fine. Rats are like, I don't want to get into it too much. Again, I don't want to gross out our listeners, our viewers, and I don't want to gross you out too much, but we had there's a big problem with them in our old neighborhood in Toronto, and our house was affected as well. And it was just like, they will chew through solid wood. They will kill any other pest you have in your house. If you have rats, you don't have mice, because they will eat them all. And they will just they're really hard to get rid of. And they were, yeah. Anyway, but it's all good. I haven't seen it again. I definitely have not got snakes, so.
That wasn't in the little yellow house wrap video. I just want.
No, we did not talk about when we were trying to sell the house. We did not front the endemic rodent problem of the entire neighborhood due to the fact that they tore down a KFC and a No Frills within a 2-block radius of the place. So.
Well, I'm not eating lunch today. What's the next story?
Oh, well, you should really have some lunch and have and have a glass of wine with it, because we have something definitely to celebrate here. Donald Rumsfeld, defense secretary during the Iraq War, is dead at 88. God, did these assholes ever live forever, right? Noted war criminal Donald Rumsfeld is dead, so we can all do something today.
I mean, I asked you to throw that one in because I wanted to see if you knew this fact. And I think you kind of guessed at it, but Donald Rumsfeld apparently in 2002, the year after the 9/11 bombings, was voted one of people's sexiest men alive.
I know. Let's just go back to that picture and discuss. Okay.
We are going to judge Donald Rumsfeld.
Hot or not, Donald Rumsfeld. No, I mean, listen, we're not into body shaming or, all people, regardless of their looks, are human and so on. And being a walking desiccated corpse doesn't mean you're a bad person. You could look like that and be a saint. However, he looked terrible and is also terrible. But yes, I do remember a really weird time where Donald Rumsfeld was a sex symbol. And he was well, if he's 88 now, though, he was in his late 60s.
Yeah, it was an odd, he does have a square jaw, which I guess is, and the right sized ears, not that there's a wrong sized ears, but they are within the proportion, but it's the soullessness behind the eyes, the pure evil that just takes away the attraction. I've never ever looked at Donald Rumsfeld and gone oh, there's been the occasional conservative politician. I know in Canada, what's his name? He used to be in the military. He just recently.
Stockwell Day, he was pretty good looking.
Yeah, which one?
Stockwell Day, he was pretty good looking.
Stockwell Day was good looking. There's a couple of others like in that ilk that were very like square jaws and good looking. I mean, right now the Conservatives don't know how to run a bohunk. All our other parties are led by very sexy men, and the Conservatives are like, we're gonna try not doing that, and it's like twice. It's like, no, when everyone else is running sexy men, you can't run a not sexy like.
You can't run a guy who literally kind of looks like a pig. I mean, he is also, I think he is younger than both you and I. I think Aaron O'Toole is like 38 or something like that.
Yes, everyone's making a big point about that. Aaron O'Toole is like in his like early 40s, late 30s, something like that, where everyone else in his age group kind of like has an aura of youth around them still, and he looks like a young boomer. Like he does not.
Yeah, you could cast him as either of our dads in something, and it would be believable, right? I don't know exact, but you could be like, yeah, this is Kristin's dad, right? You could buy that.
But we do not run sexy conservatives in Canada. They're not, like right now at least, that's not a thing that's going on. I mean, speaking of conservatives, did you see Michael Flynn last night got caught doing the QAnon oath at a family barbecue?
Yeah, isn't that creepy as fuck? Yeah, that is.
Wasn't he the Secretary of Defense or something like that?
No, he was a general.
No, I think he stepped down now because he was an advisor for Trump, so he couldn't be in his full military position because he was a cabinet member.
Yeah, no, he wasn't the Secretary of Defense, but he was in some way involved in stuff. Worryingly, but yeah, he's all over that shit. Like he's like and I think he's trying to distance himself a bit now because it's getting more toxic. But yeah, isn't that bizarre that imagine you go to your family barbecue and then people are reciting this really weird loyalty oath, you know?
It boggles me that people aren't as concerned about radicalization as I'm like just like really think we should be. I mean, the aliens that are watching us are really fascinated by this creeping plot line that we're all not paying attention to. But as a person who's aware that we're not paying enough attention to, I'm just like the creeping radicalization. Can we pay attention to that? Hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, don't let it autoplay to the next thing. Pick your videos, and if your kids go into chat rooms for their video games, maybe monitor those every once in a while, because that's where they get you. And mommy blogs, surprisingly, are a big place right now for QAnon.
And
so
yoga blogs and like, you know, like you're just even like yoga, like any kind of wellness thing is so toxic right now.
That's so funny how something and it's gonna be one of those things like when we catch on to what's become toxic, we'll forget that there was ever a good side attached to some of those things. That's often what ends up happening. It's like, you write a mummy blog will be like a horrible insult in 10 years. Like, how could you? Like, just conservatives, no matter how sexy they are, they're not sexy.
Not sexy.
Boo.
Well, I have a great story to close out our news mini-sode today. So are you ready?
Yes.
This headline alone is just amazing. Radioactive hybrid terror pigs have made themselves a home in Fukushima's exclusion zone. So this is where the nuclear disaster in Fukushima in Japan happened. So their wild boars of the area have interbred with escaped domestic pigs to create radioactive hybrid terror pigs that are taking over the zone around Fukushima and are not apparently affected by radiation. I'm going to actually read part of this story because it is that good. Hang on one second. Let me find it. All right. Radioactive terror pigs. Here we go. All right. The marauding boar also began interbreeding with escaped domestic pigs that had made good with their trotters from local farms after their human keepers had been forced to flee. The pigs, for their part, were ill-suited to life in the wild in a radioactive post-apocalyptic hellscape, and presumably threw in their lot with the tough, wily boar as their best chance of survival. Would you watch this movie? I would watch this movie.
I'm all in. Trauma Video needs to come back into existence just to do this movie because no one else could possibly do it justice.
Yeah. This is why humans attempting to reclaim their former settlements in the area around Fukushima for eventual reopening have found it difficult to dislodge the porcine interlopers from their recently taken strongholds. In some cases, the aggressive porkers have refused to give ground and have attacked returning humans, meaning humans authorities have been forced to deploy armed assassination teams of hunters to flush them out. This is one of those dark Miyazaki movies waiting to happen.
I want this so badly. Please, Kaufman, come back, restart Trauma videos. Whoever, Class of Nukem High, whoever does those movies needs to do this. Toxic Avenger. This is, it literally is B characters from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But they've never had a good movie.
No,
I just got to say, Teenage Mutant had an okay TV show. They never had a good movie. But Bebop and I can't remember the name of the other. Rocksteady and Bebop were the names of the Radioactive Pigs.
Yeah.
And Life Imitates Art. There's like.
Here, I'm gonna read the end of this article because it's just so good. I can't. Generations of Boer will come to look settlements from their mountain redoubts and feel a pang of regret and recognition for their missed opportunity to conquer the world. The Boer War has been avoided, but at what cost to the Boer? And this story is by, let me read the author because we have to give them credit. It is just so amazing. By Matt Dupree. Matt Dupree, you are a king among men. Matt Dupree. Oh wow, that's I want this to be bigger news. I want this to be wow. I want this to be a Netflix show. Yeah. I want it to be a movie. I want everything that can come from Radioactive series. Yeah, Radioactive Pigs. Look, the Fast and the Furious movies were based on an article, right? The first Fast and Furious movie was based on an article about street racers from like the Atlantic or the New Yorker or something like that. Why can't we have that article option to be a series of radioactive terror pig movies? This is the moment. I hope people who write that sort of sci-fi and that sort of like action stuff is here. Also, speaking of Fast and the Furious, to loop it all back again, have you ever noticed that they're like sports fans? They just assume that everyone likes the Fast and the Furious, and you're like, any of those movies. Like, no, I know everything about it from the commercials, and somehow, like a Canadian soap opera, I get the entire plot from that. Please, like Sonia Smits could be in the Fast and the Furious, just like recapping everything, and I'd be fine. That's a weird callback to a global TV soap opera where the commercials were long enough to have the entire plot in them. Do you remember that one with Sonia Smits in it, and she was some sort of traitor? Vaguely. I don't remember what it was called or anything that happened in it, but I don't think I ever watched it, but I agree. I think I probably had a lot of knowledge about it just from from this week on. Yeah, and I feel like the Fast and the Furious, like I know it's all about family. I know who has rivalries with each other. I know like they go to Tokyo with There's one where they drive cars out of a plane and somehow don't fly. That's a normal way to race cars, out of a plane. That happens all the time. Last time they go to space. Presumably in a car. Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't be watching Fast and the Furious movies. I find car movies to be like, with the exception of the one with Ruhel and Chris Helmsworth. Ron Howard directed it. I liked that car movie, but in general, including the movie Cars, anything that is a car-centric movie, I'm like. Yeah, don't get me started about the Cars franchise. I have a deep knowledge of it because one of my kids loved it when they were little. But yeah, it's very weird. Who built the cars is my question. Where did the cars come from? Did we build the cars and then die off? It is part of the Terminator universe. That is my theory about the Cars movies. Well, the Pixar movies are all supposed to sort of be in the same universe. Yeah. So if WALL-E exists in a world where the humans haven't been on the planet for 100 years, whatever it took for us to evolve into chair-sitting blobs, then the car movies could exist in the universe after the humans left and before they came back. Yeah. But when we come back, we don't see sentient cars, which means they also died out. They become the seventh grade extinction. Is the car characters from Cars. We're the sixth grade extinction and Cars are the seventh. Yeah. Something to tell your children, how to explain the cycles of extinction on planet Earth to your children with the Cars movie. Sure, yeah. They're okay. The Cars movies are fine. If your kids want to watch them, they're totally fine. They're okay. But don't think about it too hard is all that I'm saying. But sometimes when you see a movie like literally 50 times because your kids want to watch it over and over again, you can't help it. Wow, my parents lucked out. They got the Muppet movie and Annie and I think Return of the Jedi.
So the least good of the original Star Wars
But
trilogy.
it has
was the one-
Ewoks. I love the Ewoks. That was also my favorite when I was a kid.
I love the Ewoks too. I love me some Yoda. I love, like it was great. And Gremlins. I also had a real fondness for Gremlins. But I didn't always watch the movies. I had those weird books on record where you would play the record and it would give you a sound and you would turn the page. And somehow that was enough to fascinate me as a child without tablets and my mom's cell phone in my hand, like a little record that just, made a, when Gizmo says, turn the page, and you're like, okay, this is a logical way to read a book. Do you have anything to play us out with today, Kristin?
I actually have one more story, which I
Ooh.
forgot about, but it's a feel-good story. Mary Simon named as Canada's first Indigenous Governor General. She is an Inuk leader from northern Quebec, and there's some problematicness in some quarters about this because what is Canada anyway? Some Indigenous leaders wouldn't want to do this because they wouldn't want to be part of the whole Canadian government thing. But if you're going to have it, why not, right? So congratulations, Mary Simon.
I'm happy about this, and most of the native feeds that I've heard have been positive. I think sometimes younger, because post-colonialism as an academic thing, yada yada yada, youth and solidarity between different BIPOC groups, like there is definitely like a sense of like, what does this mean? But I know for a lot of older people in the First Nations communities, this makes sense because federation, which is an Iroquois concept, includes like being part of multiple nations. Like you can have that sense of identity. So you can be Inuit and be part of your Inuit nation and be Canadian and be part of the Canadian nation, both at the same time. And therefore, this is something that is a thing for you. And I know a lot of Inuit do feel Canadian.
Yeah.
So it's when you get out west, it becomes a bit more complicated because you do have larger swaths of unceded territory.
Yeah.
Like with the Wet'suwet'en, where there was never a negotiation, there was never a treaty. Technically, Wet'suwet'en land has never been part of Canada, even though it's like those Italian cities that never joined Italy. Like you've got those. I think like 6 or 7 of them still exist. But like we have a similar
Danzig,
kind
which
of
has been in like a free city and part of Poland and part of Germany, and like just gets kind of shuffled around Europe, right?
No, even deeper into Italy, there's like cities that are just like they're not part of Italy technically. They're their own city-state governments. So yeah, it's an interesting thing, and I think for younger activists, the issue is sometimes you're trying to make a radical point about your identity and protecting your culture, but parts of your culture are incredibly wholesome and good-natured, and so that kind of thing there could be a conflict of that people don't want white settler folks, us, to take advantage of the wholesomeness of some of these arrangements and agreements, and I think that's where like they want to wall that off from us a little bit because we haven't necessarily acted in good faith with these treaties.
No, that is very, very true. But
right?
Yeah.
So Turtle Island is a very big place, and it had governments before we got here, and it had complicated forms of governments. It had confederacies, and it had federations, and it had an empire that people were aware of creeping north, because the Aztecs definitely had trade routes going north, and people were not unaware of that. So, but I'm glad to have an Inuit GG. Like,
yeah, me too. Excuse me. Thank you.
It's about it's about time. I would love to have a First Nations Prime Minister. I think that would be something that would make a lot of sense for this country too, with truth and reconciliation. But I it's not a personal project for me. Stuff has to happen at the policy level.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
A lot of times we look at these issues interpersonally, and it's like trying to solve global warming by recycling. It's like we need the policy level to change.
Exactly. You also should recycle, but like it's not gonna you can't personally do it yourself. It's a collective problems require collective action. So
that you should make a t-shirt that says that.
Probably somebody has, but
add a pickle Rick to it, or a root, and then it will sell more. Like just.
Okay, so you had it here first, guys. Adam advises copyright infringement to sell more t-shirts. with useful like life. With useful life things on them. Yeah, well, why not, right? I actually had not planned on singing another song to go out, but you know what? I will. Hang on a second. Let me get a book out. I'll do, no, that one's too long. What am I got another one. I'm actually sitting on the book that it's in because I'm too short for my face to be seen if I don't. So, before we go, do you want to tell our watchers and listeners that anything that they should do?
Brush your teeth, drink
Yeah.
water, give
Those
us
are all-
some money on Ko-fi. Click
Get
like
your
and
vaccines.
subscribe.
Yeah.
Watch other things that we like, which I don't know what those are right now. It's the summer. Go outside, take long walks.
Yeah, enjoy yourself. Enjoy your
vaccinated.
summer and get your vaccine so you can enjoy your summer even more. I had my thumb over my camera for a second there. That's why I disappeared.
That's fine. Follow the advice of Japanese theme parks and keep the screaming inside your heart.
Inside your heart. There you go. There's a great other like copyright infringing shirt. Put Gonzo from the Muppets on that, and then say "Scream inside your heart."
Oh, the Olympics. Let's quick before we start talking about the Olympics, play us.
All right. I have one more instruction for our listeners and viewers today, which is if you can drop a couple of bucks in the change jar, we would love that forever. This ko-fi.com/this is a talk show. We'll have some other content coming out for you later this month. I think we can probably put something else together. I'll put a music video together or something. I have some wigs. It's going to be really good. Yeah, that's it. We'll see you when we see you, and keep your eyes on this channel. And I'm going to end with another song of the summer by one of my favorite composers, Brahms Poulenc. You get French and German today. This is a cultural experience. La grenouillère. Be good, Fraggles, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.